Great. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. So a simple question that, we kind of wonder about every now and then, that really simple question of who are we? As we go through life and we sort of pause every now and then, and those crucial questions of identity and who are we? And oftentimes we're put on the spot about it. We can meet someone new and we'll be getting to know each other, and then they'll say something like, well, tell me a bit about yourself. And now we're wondering, okay, so how do I answer that? Do I talk about me? How far back do I go? Should I talk about my family? Should I talk about my background? Should I talk about my history, my ancestry? I just did the genetic thing online. Here's where we all come from. How am I answering the tell me a little bit about yourself? Because identities are not easy things, and the question of who are we are not easy things. And now in the Torah, we're reading about the very beginning of everything. So we have read about Adam and Eve, and then we saw Cain and Abel, and we're trying to figure out, well, where are we? So Adam and Eve can't really relate to that because they were created, not born. So I always say they're the two human beings who don't have belly buttons. So absolutely can't relate to that. Cain and Abel, firstborn human beings. Maybe I can relate to that. Well, I don't really want to relate to them. They're problematic. And so, immediately we've got this, well, I don't know. I'm looking at the very beginning of everything, and it didn't work out. It didn't work out. So where am I trying to place myself into a portrait of something that didn't work out? So we then arrive at this week's Parsha, where God says, okay, well, let's start again then. This really didn't work out. Let's start again. And now we have Noah and who's his wife? So the Torah tells us, well, we've got Noah and his family. Noah and his 3 sons are getting on, and then it says, and their families. So clearly there's women, clearly they're married to people, but we don't know who these women are. But we know the names of all the men. And this is the let's do it again round of everything. And so we look at it, and we see that, well, we're getting an interesting change on things. So first of all, it seems like God is starting again, but not exactly. When we look at the description of what's going on, God didn't erase everything and create something new. We're being given details, and the details are revolving around the image of an ark, a contained something that sits in water, that has water all around us, and the seeds of life inside of it kept safe. And it's going to be that way for 40 days, 40 nights. We keep hearing 40, 40, 40, keeps going through. And as anyone who has had a baby or a partner to a woman having a baby, we don't count months. If we count months, we're going to get it wrong, because not all months have 4 weeks. Very few months have 4 weeks. So when we say 9 months, but then we look at the date, the due date, it's not 9 months, it's 40 weeks. We're supposed to count weeks. 40 weeks of gestation. 40 weeks is full gestation. So when we look at what the Torah is telling us, God is not recreating, God is birthing a new world. And we have the ark, seeds of life, water all around, number 40, over, and then of course the emergence from the ark. And when we look at what we read today, where that bird went out and couldn't find where to land, so it came back, that's false labor. That's when the idea of, oh, time to come out of the ark? Oh, we think it's time to come out. No, gotta wait some more. So it's being fashioned on a model we are familiar with. And God is communicating through the Torah saying, creation happens once. Now renewal will be in ways you recognize. A world will be born. A world will not be created. So when we look at it and we say, okay, so that family that's on there, who are these people? I know Noah. I don't know. He has a wife. What's her name? So we go to the Midrash, and the Midrash says, I found her. Her name is Naamah. So Noah's wife is Naamah. And now when we look at it and we say, okay, let's look at the names of this couple, this new birthing couple of the world, Noah and Naamah. And names are essence. So the name Noah means comfort. And the name Naamah means pleasant. Perfect. I now have my couple that the world is going to come from, where the man is to be the embodiment of the essence of comfort, and the woman is to be the embodiment of the essence of pleasant. Lovely. Except then we look at their kids, and we read what the kids do, and the kids are, you'll forgive me, horrible. These are not kids where we would say, oh, let's build a world on them. They're violent, they assault their father, they have hierarchical struggles of power as soon as they emerge from the ark. So how did we get those kids from this new couple that's supposed to give us the world? And now we start to get a little concerned. What are we looking at? Because if in fact that's what's going on, why did God choose these two people? If we're going to do it again to avoid the problem we had the first time, there had to have been a reason that these two people are the people on the ark. So we go back now and we search again. What are the details? What can we know? Well, we know one thing about Noah. It tells us that Noah, and then it says, Matzah chen be'enei Hashem. Noah, and it'll always get translated as found favor in God's eyes, which means God likes Noah. But that's an idiom. That isn't what the words mean. The words mean literally, Noah found beauty in God's eyes. It means God isn't the one doing the action, Noah is. Noah's searching for God. And when Noah finds God, insists eye-to-eye contact. And when he looks into the divine eyes, so to speak, what he sees, he thinks is beautiful. That's what makes Noah so distinct. In a world that has gone completely off the rails, completely corrupt, one man is searching for God, not accusing God, not saying, how dare you, where were you, how could you? But looking into God's eyes and saying, oh my God, that's beautiful. So we have something about Noah that is incredibly distinctive. The other thing is we look at his lineage. Where does he come from? He comes from Seth. And now the question of, okay, who's Seth? Seth is actually the sibling to Cain and Abel. We don't pay a lot of attention to Seth, but they had another brother. And the way the Midrash tells us, because the Torah is listing him, the way the Midrash tells us is that what happened is that Adam and Eve, after the tragedy of Cain and Abel, where one brother kills another brother, they didn't want to have any more kids. And so they separated. And they separated for a very long time. And only after a long time do they come together. They have another son. His name is Seth. Noah is actually of the line of Seth. So now we know more about Noah. If we then look at, okay, Naamah, who is she? What do we know about her? We only know one thing, the Torah tells us. She's in the line of Cain. When we go and we look at the genealogy of Cain, there she is. Naamah, there's her name. So the Midrash have taken her and said she marries Noah and gives us this future world that we're looking at. But now we're thinking, oh, so she's of the line of Cain. Isn't that interesting? So right now we would have the question of, is she carrying the Cain gene? Did they build, the Midrash, the sages, a situation where Eve is the one in the couple of Adam and Eve who eats from the fruit not allowed to eat from, and now death enters the world. Mortality enters the world. So have they now done to Naamah and said, you are carrying the genes of Cain, the murder gene. You've got the murder gene. So that one more time, death and destruction and the taking of a life will enter the world through a woman. And it's a little alarming if that's what they're doing. Because then what they're doing is simply paralleling. So now we look at the first family that we've got on the ark, and we say, okay, well, we've got pretty much Adam and Eve there because they're represented with Seth and Cain, the two sons. And then, of course, the only one we're missing is Abel. Where is Abel in all of this, if in fact we're just modeling and bringing that first family of creation? But then we go to Ecclesiastes, because Ecclesiastes told us something about humanity. It opened up the whole book by saying, Hevel Havalim, Hakol Hevel, which always translates as vanity of vanities, everything's in vain. Except the word is Hevel. Hevel is Abel's name. That's what he's named in Hebrew. It's Cain and Hevel. So the book didn't just tell us everything's in vain. It told us we're all him. Abel, Abels, with a capital A, everyone is able. In other words, when we look at humanity, what we've just been told is that Abel is embedded in all of us. We all carry him. So now I'm back in the ark saying, did I complete that first family? And yes, I did. I've got Adam, I've got Eve, I've got Seth, I've got Cain. We're all able. We're all in there. So actually, the family on the ark is, in fact, that first family that we knew in creation. So we go back and say, all right, I don't get it. So we're just repeating? Where would we have the hope of being different if we're just taking the same people that were there the first time? But now we go back and look at the nuance. Noah is a descendant of Seth, and Seth represents the reconciliation of Adam and Eve. They separated because of what happened, but they found each other again. And they had a child when they found each other. That child is Seth. Noah is of the line of the reconciliation and the coming back together. And when we look at Naamah and we say, well, she came from the line of Cain, is it because she's going to carry the murder gene, so to speak? And the answer is no. We don't look at Cain that way. Cain did not murder his brother. Cain didn't understand murder, couldn't form intent. No one had died. He didn't know that you could actually kill someone. So when we look at Cain, we say, what do we get from Cain? Cain is the first human being to own his actions. He's accountable for what he did. He turns to God when he realizes it and says, oh my God, I can't bear what I've done. My sin is too great to bear. And there's the incredible moment of Cain, is to say, the first time a human being owns what they did, accounts for it, and repents, and says, what can I do? How do I fix this? That's what she's bringing. So we have Noah on the ark, who is bringing with him reconciliation. Naamah on the ark, who is bringing with her that understanding of accountability and repentance. And then, of course, we look at it and we say, the issue between Cain and Abel was a sacrifice. They were fighting over a sacrifice they were bringing to God. The word for sacrifice is korban, which means drawing near. That's why we all carry Abel inside of us, because we all draw near to each other, and we know we're risking it. We know we can get hurt. We know the other person can hurt us. That's what happened with Cain and Abel, but we will do it again. We will draw near again. We will make ourselves vulnerable again, because the rewards are so great. We'll always take that risk. We are always carrying Abel inside of us, because he empowers us to take that risk. There's nothing new on the ark. We look at the ark and we realize we are who we were created to be. It's always in us, all the time. There's threads that connect us that will never disconnect. The hope of the ark is a relationship is being established with God. It's finding definitions. It's finding individualization. We can make other choices, and we realize that the world will shape differently around us because we made those other choices. We have everything we need already embedded within us. That's why that family is chosen for the ark. So when someone new comes to us and we're sitting, and they give us that question, that seemingly superficial question that says, tell me a little bit about yourself. At this point, we could honestly give them a truly biblical answer and say, you know, I'm complicated. Shabbat shalom.